about the fundamentals and how should you approach this? Naveen Kulkarni, the CIO at Axis Securities, is now joining us. Naveen, good morning. So what's the call? Because, there's one side who believes that, look, the promoters willing to put money, that's setting up a bit of a floor price. But last time also, we had at 620. At that time, of course, the promoter had sold stake. This time, there's a bit of an equity dilution. So does that set a bit of a ceiling as well for the stock? Your thoughts?
So from, let's say from a business perspective, this is a business which requires investment from a long-term purpose, right? So there is 5G, there is OneWeb where Bharti has an option value. So all these investments are pretty long-term and they require good amount of capital. Second aspect is that Bharti's overall debt structure, if we look at it, one is that of course, they can borrow at rates which are quite reasonable. But second aspect is that they do have a government debt in terms of their spectrum liabilities, which is much, much higher than their current borrowing rate. Right? So that's the second aspect. Third aspect is that as far as what they have tried to do is that this is a long-term funding plan, which essentially secures them for the next 2 to 3 years. So overall, I would say that this is a reasonably good move in terms of how they want to dilute their holding, not coming to the market very in the open market through an OFS or through a QIP. I think giving a chance to the existing shareholders at a lower price gives a good opportunity, right? So from the overall perspective, I believe that the rights issue will not have a huge negative bearing on the stock. Might be short-term, could be a slight negative bearing, but I would say that considering the history of the rights issue that we've seen, most times actually stock companies the stock prices tend to behave much better over medium time frame.
Okay, so that's on the rights issue and on fundraising, but on the company's fundamentals itself, Naveen, would you raise your earnings estimates or target price based on the expectation that now there would be faster revenue growth as well as market share gains?
So that I think most analysts tend to factor in with the kind of market share gains that the company is doing. Secondly, the expectations of ARPU are considerably higher than what the current ARPU is that Bharti is doing. Right, so from that perspective, I don't see a huge change in terms of estimates happening, but I think more likely with the funding plan, there might be more avenues of growth which might open up. So that is something which remains to be seen. Today they have a call in the afternoon. Probably we'll get some more details in terms of what they intend to do with their money. But I think it does open up more growth options. And also, as another anchor was talking in the morning, that market is kind of looking at a duopoly. So that means that there will be more growth opportunities, and for that, of course, they need to build capacity. So these are some of the aspects. Near term, I would say that analysts have factored in a higher ARPU. We'll have to wait and watch how that pans out.
Naveen, morning. Yeah, I was just going to take up that point that markets right now looking at everything very positively. Now, if at all, one is 5G, if at all bids get a little aggressive, would that be a problem? And secondly, I mean, the question that no one's really asking, we know that Vodafone Idea wanted the government to come in and take over the stake, which obviously doesn't seem to be happening right now. If Bharti were to jump into this fray, would that be viewed positively or negatively by the market, purely from the point of capital deployment?
Yeah, one is Bharti acquiring any bit of Vodafone Idea is going to be a huge challenge from multiple aspects, right? There has to be a huge change in regulations with regards to, let's say, one company holding into another company with regards to the market share in various circles, amount of spectrum that they are holding. It's a completely different ballgame. Whether it's possible or not is something which remains to be seen. To my mind, it seems to be very remote at this point in time. But of course, yes, Bharti might be interested in doing that. And if they are able to pull that off, it will be a huge upside for the stock, right? If they are able to buy out Vodafone Idea, or even if they are able to buy out some of the key circles, right? Because then they will pretty much have monopoly in those circles. So, but I think that it seems to be difficult to achieve that, is what my opinion is. So we'll have to wait and watch out how that pans out, what Vodafone Idea has in store, and how government will react to the kind of challenge that Vodafone Idea is facing.
Okay, Naveen, we leave it at that. Thanks a lot for joining us. We're actually heading into the market opening, which looks like it's going to be a solid opening.